We understand that the Biden administration is preparing for an influx of migrants at the southern border. What are you expecting? You've been reporting on this. What's the latest?
You know, it's pretty widely expected that we are going to see an increase on Thursday when Title 42 lifts. This policy has allowed border agents to expel migrants at the border without considering their asylum claims for more than 3 years now. And that means that there's just quite a bit of pent-up demand for protection in the United States. We're also facing essentially a refugee crisis across the Western Hemisphere. And those factors combined means that we are more likely than not to see a significant increase after Thursday. What that increase exactly will look like, we're not really sure. Nonprofits I've spoken to along the border are certainly preparing and they're trying to do their best, but they're not really sure exactly how many people we're going to see. The Department of Homeland Security said it could be as many as 13,000 a day.
13,000 a day. Well, in preparation for this interview, I was reading up on this situation and saw that Colombia, the country, is refusing repatriation flights. So what happens in a situation where the U.S. government is going to send a group of people back and the country to which they're going to be sent back says, no, thank you, you can keep them? Well, what happens to those folks?
That's a very difficult situation. And, Colombia is not the only country that we've had these issues with. You might imagine we can't repatriate people to Afghanistan very well right now. There are quite a few countries where we have strained diplomatic relations that do not accept deportation flights. This is almost a separate issue to Title 42 in a way. This is, a longstanding diplomatic problem. Various things can happen in those situations. We've had situations where immigrants are just held in immigration detention facilities for prolonged periods, and that's resulted in litigation. Sometimes they're just, released on recognizance and given, orders to report to ICE check-ins every so often. Generally, the U.S. is planning to deport people who come across the border and don't qualify for asylum, but certainly there are limitations to that.
Certainly there are. The Biden administration is planning to open up, if they haven't opened up already, new immigration centers in Colombia and Guatemala specifically, hoping that folks will apply for asylum there and not come to the southern border. What is the status of those centers? Have they opened up and has that program gotten going yet?
The centers are not operational yet, but they have been announced. The Biden administration is hoping that with these processing centers, migrants will be able to be pre-screened for potential avenues for protection here in the U.S. without having to ever make that journey to the U.S. Mexico border. The journey is a dangerous one. There are, deaths, assaults along the way. And once they reach the border, when the Biden administration cannot predict how many people will be coming at once, that's what can overwhelm border agents. So the idea there is that people would not make the journey, apply from their home countries or a country nearby, see if they qualify, and if they do, then they would be able to be safely transported to the border. I do think that will certainly have limitations even when it's up and running. Not everyone lives in those two countries. And, there are going to be people who still feel that they don't have time to wait around in those countries, that whatever danger they're fleeing feels more imminent than that. And they're going to be probably continuing to seek asylum at the border as well. So I think it's, part of a number of initiatives that they're rolling out in anticipation of this lifting and in an effort to try to deter crossings.
Now, one of the things that the administration says regularly is that Congress needs to act. And in Congress, you have an independent senator in Kyrsten Sinema. That's confusing to say sometimes, as well as a Republican in Tom Tillis from North Carolina. They have a plan not to extend Title 42 because it is pandemic era, but to basically continue the Title 42 provisions under a different name. Does that have any chance, or is it even legal? Can we do that?
Congress can certainly change the laws. Right now, that's not something we have on the books, but if Congress would like to add that, that's certainly well within their authority. As for whether or not the bill is going to pass, Congress obviously is not known for being able to successfully pass immigration bills all of that often. It's a very tricky issue on the Hill and one that there's, a lot of partisan disagreement, but even within individual parties, we will see disagreement within Democrats, disagreement within Republicans. And so I think with a bill like this, yes, it is bipartisan. Kyrsten Sinema, an independent and former Democrat, as well as Joe Manchin, a Democrat, and two Republicans, Tom Tillis and John Cornyn, are behind the bill. But both Sinema and Joe Manchin have been known for breaking with Democrats. So I don't know that it's necessarily clear at this point that this bill would have support of Democratic leadership. And that would be necessary for anything to be brought to the floor for a vote even. And of course, in the Senate, all bills need 60 votes to overcome a filibuster and to advance. And that's not even to speak to this bill would need to pass in the House as well.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation in your cable lineup. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-based, unbiased coverage.